Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Raise.dev Hacktoberfest Help Desk. My name is Joe, and I'm your host for the show today. If you are new to the show, the Hacktoberfest Help Desk is your resource to get all the help, tips, and tricks you need to land your pull requests this Hacktoberfest. Hey, Sudip, thanks for joining us. Hey, Matt. This is our first show of the week, the last week of Hacktoberfest. We have 15 shows for you this week. It's going to be a fantastic week, and each one of those has an amazing special guest, and we have a special guest for this very show who I will bring on shortly. Before that, couple of house things, administrivia, the rules, that kind of stuff. First of all, reminder to everyone in chat that you are welcome to ask questions as we go along. We are here to help you, and we are here to make sure that you get all the help you need this Hacktoberfest. But again, additional reminder that we do run active moderation on this channel, and that there are some things we're keeping an eye out for, and some of those things are automated. So if you want to post a link in the chat, such as you're sharing a link to your project or you're sharing a link to a resource that's relevant to what we're doing, that's totally welcome. But please let us know beforehand at RaiseDevs, and I will make sure that our moderation bot does not take you out of the chat. So just at me at RaiseDevs, and I'll make sure that you can post links. I'll add you to our permit list, etc. So that's that. Second up is the schedule for the week. As I said, this is a really packed week. We've got 15 shows. You can find our schedule for the week at twitch.tv RaiseDevs schedule. Hang around at the end of the show, and I'll give you a little bit of a teaser of what is to come. You can also follow us. If you go to our Twitch channel, you can hit the love heart, and then hit the little bell, and that'll give you notifications when we go live, which I highly recommend, because keeping track of 3 shows a day is a lot of work. But if you do happen to miss one of our shows, you can also go to our video page and watch the recording. They will stay up there for 14 days, and we'll be moving them over to our YouTube channel after Hacktoberfest as well. So that's all of that out of the way. The other thing to mention is, if you haven't heard of Raise.dev, we're not only here to help you during Hacktoberfest, but we're here to help you for your developer career in general. You can sign up to Raise.dev at the URL below, and what we are is a coaching service to help you level up in your developer career. Whether you're trying to get your first job after a career change or a boot camp, or you're trying to get a promotion or move to mid-level to senior, or trying to level up your engineering team, whatever it is, we have experienced coaches from a wide range of backgrounds who will help you get the experience you need to make that jump. Hey, Sudip, I'm here for scientific computing. You're in the right place. So that is all of my ramble for the day. Let me bring on our guest. Please welcome Tania to the show. Hey, Tania, how you doing?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you doing?
Good, full of first show energy. Would you like to introduce yourself for the viewers?
Yeah, my name is Tania, and I am a senior developer advocate at Microsoft, where I do all things data, machine learning, scientific computing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Awesome. So to give folks who are watching an idea of what we're going to cover in this show, we can talk a little bit about Tania and Tania's journey. And then towards the end of the show, as Sudip has already said, we are going to be getting into some scientific computing and Python projects, I believe. We're going on what we call issue safari, where we look around at some projects and find cool things that we can look at. And find projects people can contribute to, because there is only 5 days left, which is getting a bit tense if you haven't completed your Hacktoberfest pull requests, which I haven't yet, actually, now that I say that. Anyways, I guess to start off, you said you're a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft, which we've had a couple of on the show from this team. It'd be great to hear a little bit about like what that role means and what your day looks like.
Yeah, well, I think I never have a day that repeats itself, or like a standard day.
Yeah.
I'm also within our advocacy team, we have a lot of folks working on different audiences or different communities, different tools. And I sit at academic and open source. So my time's like 50% academic, working with a lot of researchers. I come from a research background, and I work with people that do machine learning, do different kind of research. Mostly it's like deep learning for different stuff, atmospheric sciences, healthcare, so all of that. And then on the other side, I work on the open source ecosystem, so supporting open source communities, contributing to open source projects, and a lot of my role as well is advocating on behalf of my community, understanding what pain points they have, what kind of workflows they are working on, like understanding what tools people are using, and how we can make our products at Microsoft better for them, so that they can actually be more efficient, or their work is smoother.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite cool, actually.
Sorry, I'm looking around panicked because normally I have a notepad where as you bring up things that I want to ask about, I write them down so I don't interrupt you. And I've lost my notepad. So before I forget this question, you mentioned that you've got a research background, and like that I really want to chat to you about and hear a little bit about, because it's like, in my experience, it's relatively unusual for someone from a research background to end up in developer advocacy. And so I think it's super awesome and inspiring that like you've come into this role to advocate for that community and the needs of that computing community, which is like, I guess, a little bit underserved versus, you know, like API and app developers. So I'd love to hear a little bit about like how that all happened.
Well, actually, it's weird. I thought most of my life that I wanted to do a PhD. I don't know why.
Right.
I was like, just want to do a PhD. I love research. I just want to stay in academia. Yeah. Fast forward, when I was doing my PhD, I realized that academia didn't work like I was expecting. I did like research, but I started accumulating a lot of frustrations around reproducibility. Why, like, folks would publish out their papers and said, well, we created this piece of software, or we did all of this analysis. And I was like, okay, you did all of this, so where is the data? Like, where is the software? How can I verify that you actually did what you were saying that you did? So then I started getting a lot into all of that side of like reproducible data science, machine learning, reproducibility, transparency, and the whole open source ecosystem. Because also I was the one doing like machine learning for bioengineering. So within my team, I was also, well, within my lab, I was also a rare outlier.
I see.
Because my team was heavily experimental. And then I eventually just discovered this other world of research software engineering. There were some folks that were calling themselves research software engineers. Like, oh, this sounds like what I do and like what I want to do. So then I just made the shift. When I completed my PhD, I just started working as a research software engineer.
Cool.
I got very involved with the community, so that was good because I could just like get a panorama of what folks were doing in other teams, in other universities, research institutions. So I think that's what led the way to do a lot of advocacy, because I've always been like very community oriented. It's interesting because, as you mentioned, like the scientific community, or even though machine learning is so popular, there is still, like, when people talk about developers or developer advocacy, scientific research or fundamental research is never an area of development that comes up like first topic. But it's actually there are millions of people using the scientific ecosystem. And I think it's time that people start paying a bit more attention to them.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's super true. I feel like machine learning, especially, like, people, is like one of the areas where I see like a lot of software engineers who are like in industry talking about reading this latest paper or doing that latest thing, blah, 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 and like developing products without necessarily including those viewpoints as well. Again, before I forget, I've now found my notepad, so I can now write these things down without interrupting you. But I do want to go back to the research software engineers bit, because I'm super excited to hear that, because I ran into the Research Software Engineering Society, I think it is, the RSE, while I was at GitHub completely randomly via someone at Sheffield University. I think his name is Michael. I was absolutely amazed that this was like a group of people that existed and was like a thing that was being done. Can you tell us a little bit briefly about like what like research software engineering is and what those folks do?
Yeah, actually, I was working at the University of Sheffield, software engineering group. That was my very first job after my PhD. So basically, now research heavily relies on data and software. Like, it doesn't matter if you're doing research in humanities or sciences or physics or whatever, you need software of some sort to analyze a big amount of data, generate reports, generate plots, visualizations. And there are different flavors of research software engineers, or RSEs. There is a flavor that does a lot of research, but they do write a lot of code to generate their research or generate the outputs. And then there's another like sort of flavor of folks that don't do fundamental research as such, but do all of the software, all the maintenance, look after the data, maintain infrastructure for research groups or research labs. So basically, they're holding together all of the resources, all of the tools, the numerical tools that folks need. That's my dog.
Good.
That folks need to be able to generate research.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, it's. I realized that we spoke about. You mentioned reproducibility, and I got straight into research science. And I guess for some context, I guess it's fair to talk about like the reproducibility crisis as some context of like where this all like came from. But for those of you who aren't aware, there's like a generalized. I guess it's true to all sciences, but especially computer science, that like if you maintain any software, you're probably familiar with the concept of bit rot, whereby like things change and that software no longer works after a number of years. And then if you imagine like that software is dependent on some research results that are like someone needs to be able to verify to continue their research, it becomes a big problem very quickly. And then also there's like, I understand there's a generalized problem whereby a lot of source code for programs that people base their research on actually isn't included with the papers at all. So yeah, this concept of research software engineering as people who like are kind of stewards of that data and of those like of that software is super important and awesome. Wonderful. Sudip said relatable. Excellent. Good. So to go back again, sorry, I'm flying all over the place.
Oh no.
So to go back to what you were saying about, I guess, like your day-to-day as America and where you focus on supporting the scientific community and focus a lot on ML and those kind of things. What are some of the, I guess, I'm very interested in the shape and ways those communities operate. Like if you say conference to a web developer on Twitter versus like an academic, they're two very different experiences, right? Like have you had how have you like translated, I guess, like the developer advocacy toolkit to that community that's like relatively new to that doesn't usually encounter developer advocates at their conferences in that way?
Yeah, no, it's I do a lot of academic conferences as well as developer conferences.
Right.
They're like so different, but I think also now because I am within the RSC community, it's a bit closer to developers, to like software conferences. But yeah, all the time when I talk to folks, they're like, so you're a developer advocate. Do you code? Do you do technical work? It's like, I do a lot of technical work. I mostly deal with a lot of bugs before they actually go out in the wild. You don't have to experience them. But yeah, they're very, very different audiences. They're very different communities. And something that I've been working on within Microsoft is with Microsoft Research. So we have a division of folks that do research at Microsoft, and they often sponsor academic conferences. So I've been working a bit more closer with them to actually have good impact within our communities. Something that we've identified, for example, is research, because I work very closely with Azure, is researchers will be like, so what is the cloud? Like, why would I use the cloud? How do I go from my laptop to the cloud, or what advantages? So we're working a lot on putting together resources so that folks kind of skill themselves. And a lot of this is also generating content specific to what their needs are, because also their needs are super different to someone that is developing web apps or more traditional APIs or things of the such. So I'm trying to see what works at the developer advocacy side and then bring it over like to researchers, to the research community. But for that, that's why I'm working very closely with our researchers. We also have research software engineers at Microsoft.
Awesome. Very cool.
So just like bridging those two worlds has been quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Microsoft Research, but it's mostly because in a past life, I was also an academic, but on Haskell stuff. So I'm a big fan of Simon Peyton-Jones and his famous Comic Sans slide templates. Awesome. So that has been very illuminating and super cool to talk about. Speaking of scientific computing, should we dive into some projects?
Yes.
Awesome. So there's a lot of folks in chat who are looking for scientific computing projects to contribute to, apparently mainly Sudipt. So am I good to throw up the screen?
I am good for my screen.
Cool. Awesome. So what do we have here? Straight into a project.
I'm going to present a few projects that I use all the time. I use Repo to Docker all the time.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you like a whole bunch of questions because scientific computing is not something I dabble in a lot, and I want to make sure users at the same level as me. Oh, hang on, we've got a question here about. Sorry, back to the previous topic briefly. Okay, so a question from Sudipt, very related to what we just spoke about. Sudipt says, I'm actually trying to get into academia conferences and papers, and they all seem kind of vague. I'm just trying to produce results from various papers. Which conferences would you recommend for beginners in domain agnostic ones? That's tricky.
Conferences and domain agnostic ones. I would say if you want to start familiarizing yourself a bit more with scientific papers that come with the code, you don't probably need to go to a conference. But there is, I don't know if you know this project that is called Papers with Code. Is it that? Yeah, Papers with Code. Yeah. And it's amazing. Papers with Code. And it's very, very focused on machine learning.
Cool.
Well, the nice thing is that it's not just the research, not just the paper out there, but you actually can go on to GitHub, dive into the code. You can then reproduce the results and verify that folks actually did what they're saying that they did. So that would be a very, very good way to start getting more into machine learning research. For conferences on machine learning entirely, I would probably say if it's academic, probably the biggest one is NeurIPS. It's very hard to get into it, like to get your paper accepted, and well, it usually also sells out within minutes.
Interesting. Wow.
But again, if you want to look at conferences that are less focused on the academic side of things, there are PyData conferences all over the world. There is going to be a PyData Global in November. And it's all about the scientific Python ecosystem and the R ecosystem as well. So you might want to check it.
Yeah, the other one I was going to mention that comes to mind, particularly if you're talking about trying to get into academic, into reading papers. Papers We Love is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Papers We Love used to be a meetup. I don't know how they've transitioned, but Papers We Love was used to be a meetup, basically like book clubs, but for reading scientific papers. So they'd get together and read a paper. I guess they must be doing online stuff now. Yeah, it looks like it. But there's chapters all over the world, so you will definitely be able to find a chapter near you, and they just choose a computer science paper, or not even always computer science papers, and read through them. It's super cool. And lots of companies do this internally as well. There's a Papers We Love group at GitHub. So yeah, awesome. Cool. Thank you for answering that question, Tania. So as I was saying, so I'm very new to a lot of these kind of scientific projects, or I've seen them fly. So Jupyter, for example, is one that I'm familiar with because I used to get asked a lot about it at GitHub, and I'm aware of the fact, for example, that GitHub renders Python notebooks, and that's about as far as my understanding goes. So I see here that we're looking at something that will turn repositories into Jupyter-enabled things. First of all, what is Jupyter?
Oh well, I can just talk about Jupyter all day, any day, every day. So Jupyter is actually a very, very big ecosystem.
Cool.
Like you mentioned before, Jupyter Notebooks is probably the best known tool of the whole Jupyter ecosystem.
Cool.
But whenever I talk about Jupyter, or whenever I think about Jupyter, it's like a box of Legos. So it allows you to put together different tools to basically build your own infrastructure to do scientific computing or machine learning. So on one side, you have the Jupyter Notebook that allows you to mingle narrative and code and have the outputs right in there. But normally you access that, well, you need to have Python or and Jupyter installed, so it will spin up the server and then you access it. There are a lot of different flavors now of notebooks, for example, or ways, like I would say, like the interface to the notebooks. So if you use, for example, VS Code, you can now open your notebooks in there, and it will just spin up the server.
Very cool.
And you can do all of your things there. There is something else like Interact, which is amazing. I absolutely love Interact. It's like the experience is so good. So yeah, the Jupyter ecosystem is super vast. I don't know if you've ever found any repositories that you go into scientific computing, and then they have a launch binder.
Yeah, I have seen that quite a lot. Yeah, so I'm guessing Binder is like an online viewer for these notebooks.
Yeah, so it's basically on the cloud. It's like a Jupyter hub on the cloud.
Right.
And it will create a container for you based on, I don't know, if you already have your requirements.txt file or your conda YAML file. You can also use it with R, Julia, a lot of different other languages.
Cool.
And basically, you just click on the button. It will spin up the container. It uses Kubernetes under the hood. It's like all of this nice and nifty infrastructure. And you can start interacting with those Jupyter notebooks or those scripts without you having to install all of the dependencies on your computer. It's very good for sharing, for example, research outputs or tutorials. People use it a lot for tutorials now, for teaching classes as well.
Very cool.
And Repo to Docker is actually one of the underlying tools for Binder. It's the tool that allows you to take your repository and create a Jupyter-ready Docker container without you having to write your Docker file and do all of the mumbo jumbo that sometimes needs to be done so that you have everything ready. And it's very nifty. So I use it now a lot with GitHub Actions.
Okay.
So that it will create my containers, tag them, and push them. And they are Jupyter ready. And they are amazing.
So how does this, so is it literally just like, so how does it work as a command? Is it literally just a command you run and you feed it a GitHub repo, or is there like more involved setup than that? Oh no, it looks like you just run it on the GitHub repo.
Yeah. So you just you install it from using pip. And you can either, if you have your repository locally, you can just run repo to Docker, and it will create a container. Well, create your image, and then you can spin up your container. Or if you have a URL to a remote, you don't need to have it there, so you can pass that URL from the remote and to create a Docker image. So it's really good. It's very nifty, and actually it draws a lot of inspiration from is it Heroku build packs?
Oh yes, yeah. Oh, God, that's great to hear. I love Heroku build packs. So
so if you are if anyone is familiar with Heroku build packs, it allows you to just deploy all of your stuff in isolated environments, like very seamlessly. And I think that was inspiration for how Repo to Docker is built and is utilized. And it's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love that.
I don't suppose you have an example of that GitHub action in the project which is accessible, or is it all in other closed source things?
Oh, that will be in my repos.
No pressure. If that's going to be a pain, that's totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just super easy to do that. I can then share some links with you later.
Cool.
Yeah,
I've been
it's
throwing
really,
these
really
links in
good.
the chat as we go. I just checked out the pull requests. It looks like they are tagging pull requests with Hacktoberfest. So it
They
looks like if you
are.
wanted to contribute, although the repo doesn't have the topic, it looks like you should be able to get a PR you make tagged with Hacktoberfest. Do they have?
They normally have like Hacktoberfest labels. They're
Awesome.
quite good.
Yeah.
They're also very, very good with tagging their issues
Good
that need
issues.
help or are good first issues. And the folks that maintain repo to Docker and basically anything Jupyter Hub are lovely. They're amazing.
Cool.
They're super supportive. So they're always willing to help folks that are doing the first pull request or are just getting involved with the project. So it's a very, very friendly project to get started with open source.
Yeah, so I guess on a little bit of a tangent, though, while we're looking at this repo, it's a good time to go in it. When you're new to a project, what are the steps that you go through to like warm yourself into contributing to it?
Well, the first, I have like a set of things that I first check. I only interact with projects that care about their community, and a very good way to make sure is that they have a contributing guide. So I go and see what they are like, what is their process for contributing to the project, and I always check if they have or whether the project itself or like the org that it belongs to. That they have a code of conduct and that they actually have proper mechanisms or steps to report any violation of the code of conduct. And that for me is a very good indication that they care about their community and they try to keep it
and I'm guessing
healthy.
in Jupyter Hub's case, that's at like the org level rather than the per project
level. Yeah. So it's like for the whole Jupyter. Yes, it's for the whole Jupyter. So then I would go over the contribution guidelines, make sure that I understand how to get my development setup done, or like if they have, sometimes projects have Docker containers and that makes it easier. Sometimes they have like step-by-step guides on how you get everything ready. And then I will just go look at the issues, find something. If it's the first time I'm interacting with a project, I always go for good first issues.
Good first issues, yeah. Oh, they have a lot of them. Wow.
They have a lot, and they're quite good.
And lots of Hacktoberfest tags too.
Yeah, so I'll probably go in there, have a look at that. If I feel like I can tag it, that I can do this, I'll just say, hey, I'm going to work on this, or ask for clarification. And actually, something that I learned from that I quite like from this community is that they really advise you as soon as you start working on a project. On a contribution, to create a pull request super early and just tag it as work in progress, so that you can start getting feedback early on. And that's very, very good, especially if you're not familiar with the project, because that keeps you within scope. And it allows you to interact with the maintainers and the folks, and then just ask questions. So that's pretty much what I would do. Sometimes I also go at closed pull requests and just have a look about, just like, I don't know, have a look at how responsive folks were. Because sometimes I know like everyone is busy, everyone has a life, but sometimes I've seen projects where, but I've also seen projects where there is a pull request that has been waiting review for a year, let's say. And it's like, well,
that's probably, I'm not going to get my t-shirt with that one.
It's like, probably it's going to take a full year of my life to get this merged. So I just go and have a look at the pull request, make sure that I understand what their style guide is as well. So that I don't do, I don't do like anything that goes massively against the project guidelines or
and makes more work for the maintainer, which then results in them taking a year to reply.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Very cool. Nice. This is completely irrelevant, but this project in like the language selector at on the code hub where it tells you what's in it has like so many different technologies going on in this repo. It was like even Nix was in there, which is
yes.
interesting. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to the docs. And this is one of the things I was mentioning before. Repo to Docker and Binder works amazing. It's just like super, super, super good. They actually have they're super good because it's not just Python. A lot of folks think, oh well, Jupyter is just Python, but you can use a lot of stuff with it, like R, Julia, Nix. In Binder, you can. They have actually they've enabled folks to use Nix to build deterministic environments, and it's super good.
Cool. Yeah, so actually, Sudip threw this in chat, and we also had a guest on earlier in our month. So there's talking about like using other languages and stuff. That's all enabled by something called a kernel, right? Like people build kernels for the notebooks. Yes, or the Jupyter.
Yeah. Oh, there are so many kernels. And then let me go to Binder. This Binder. No, this
we
is
actually
not
had Vapehav on our first day of Factofest shows, and Vapehav contributes to the Haskell binder. It's a Haskell kernel rather IHP.
Really?
It seems like very okay. Cool. So this is
so Binder, this is Binder. This is what you actually use like to have your interactive environments on the cloud. But where is it? Oh, configuration files here. It's super good. It doesn't matter what you're using, if it's like Conda or pipenv or Project Toml. Basically, it gives you a lot of flexibility on how you set up your environment, and it just works.
That's awesome.
It works. You can even use Stencila with it. It's just, this is amazing. I love all things Binder and Jupyter. Here's the Nix package manager.
Awesome.
So it's really cool. It's a very cool project.
I've just seen their Turing Way project, which just looks really awesome. That's very cool. I was trying to find the page you're on so I can put it in chat. Let me stop getting distracted by cool things. Configuration files. Let me put that in chat for things.
And I love all the folks at the Turing Way as well. They're all awesome.
Here we go. That's the link. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, this actually is interesting. So these configurations aren't just for what is my question? It's not just for particular programming language ecosystems. It's also for package manager ecosystems instead. So you can set it up with one of those. So for example, you can set it up with Python and install all of the things from the notebook that you're using with pip, or you can use, apt-get and do it at a much more language agnostic level. Does that make sense? Is what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Good. Interesting.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. I think Tim, which is one of the maintainers, and the core folks at Binder, he's even had this, I don't know, it's just playing around, but he's managed to get VS Code running inside Binder. So
Wait,
instead of it's wild. I don't know if I can find it. But
so instead of getting Binder, you get VS Code, or you get
let me see. So instead of when you click on the Binder button, instead of going directly into the traditional Jupyter or Jupyter Lab, what you will see is VS Code. Let me see if it's in the
I think I found it.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got a GitHub repo about it. It's on beta-tim/VS Code -binder. Has it got a video of it here?
There is a VS Code here. Let me see if I can. Trying to put together. I can't remember if there is a demo somewhere.
I think I've got a demo here. Throw the link.
This one?
So in the README of this.
Oh, here it is. Binder, you launch Binder. Let's see if
looks
it's
like
working.
that takes a while to launch.
yeah. It will take a while because you can actually see the build logs. So we will create your container from there. So
that just happens to be running VS Code. God, that's
it's amazing. Yeah, and it's just that this is the best thing about the whole Jupyter ecosystem, because everything is like this box of Lego that I was mentioning before.
Right.
You can just put things together and have your super cool, amazing environment and infrastructure, and it's just mind-blowing.
Cool.
It might take a while, but
yes. I like at the top it keeps like where it's got the spinning wheel. Every now and then it will come up with like, here's some tips for speeding up your binder launches. It's like, yes, that'd be okay. If repository takes a long time to launch, yes, that's going to be the case in this one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like, but we can talk about other stuff and then
absolutely
see if it works. I know also that it has a timeout, so
it might take too long. Yeah,
hopefully it won't.
Fingers crossed.
It won't come out. But yeah, it's wild. The things that you can do with the whole Jupyter ecosystem is absolutely wild.
So this is again like completely off topic, but just before I forget, like how does Binder work? Like, this looks like it's all completely free. Like, do they get sponsorship? Like, how are they is it just a group of people who are very committed to like helping with the reproducibility crisis in scientific computing? Like, how is this a free service?
Well, so if you actually, it's taking a while, but there is VS Code. If we go back to Binder, let me show you. You can actually see here this little banner that says they have folks that actually give sponsorship to maintain all of the cloud resources, because all of this is running on the cloud, on somebody else's cloud. So it's Google Cloud, OVH, and the Alan Turing Institute.
Cool.
So actually, you can see here at the top when your Binder instance has actually started, it will tell you which of those clouds it's actually hitting. So
nice.
In this case, it's Google Cloud.
Yeah. Very cool. Interesting. Nice.
Oh, well. Could not start VS Code.
Oh no. Still, that's like a wonderful piece of hackery. And I guess like
just have like but it's amazing. It's just so amazing.
Very cool. Awesome. Cool. So was there anything else you want to show us on this project, or should you have a look at another one?
So I think I've talked a lot about repo to Docker. Cool. But I would say have a look at the different Jupyter related projects, and they will have all like beginner friendly issues. It's a lovely bunch of folks to work with, and it's an incredible like the whole Jupyter thing is amazing. I love it. I am like their unofficial advocate.
Well, I mean, Mike, there are tools in Microsoft Azure for running notebooks, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Very cool. Neato. Was there any other projects you wanted to show us?
Yes. It's also Papermill, but this is it's also related to the Jupyter ecosystem.
Sure. Yeah.
But this is within the Interact community, and this is amazing. Papermill completely changed my workflow for data science, and because I very often have to do like reports. And let's say that every month you have to pull a report for something. And Papermill basically allows you to parameterize notebooks. So instead of like having to do a lot of things all the time, you can just say, well, this cell is a parameter, and you can if I had this when I was doing my PhD, it would have been so easy. Like so easy, because I was doing my PhD was a lot about, it was machine learning, but it was a lot about optimization, like finding different materials that would have certain characteristics or certain mechanical properties. So a lot of that was running simulations with a lot of different parameters.
Right. So rerunning lots of code over and over again, basically.
Exactly. If I had this, like, it would have been amazing.
Nice. That's awesome.
It would have been so good. Yeah. And I use Papermail all the time. Right. It's super good. They have a little video here. So you can define your parameters, and then that will be like your template notebook, and you can use it. You can just run your notebook, I don't know, however you want to do it. I've done that. For example, I've integrated it with Airflow, that is for DAGs, and it's super good because you don't have to do anything. You just wait for it to execute. You get your super nice report or your super nice analysis. It's great. Awesome. So good.
Yeah, super cool. So it says one of the example things was like you can, use the like the results from one notebook and pass it into another. Do they have?
Yeah.
And I guess like how am I asking this question? What is like? Do they allow you to fetch the output of one particular cell, or is there like how does that actually work? So have they ever got an example of that anywhere? I might have to go look at this.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Where is this? Is for the CLI.
Let me have a look at Papermail.
Trying to find that. Might be probably in their docs.
Yeah.
I'm able to find that.
Parameterize notebooks.
Storage.
Oh,
super interesting.
Designate parameters for a cell. Yeah, so actually it's exactly what that video you can. Yeah, I just asked you exactly what the video was showing basically. When you add that parameters tag in it.
So it is basically you just add the parameters and then I'll just run it with that.
Yeah.
Because Jupyter Notebooks under the hood is a massive JSON file.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a massive JSON data structure. So it stores information about your runtime environment, your environment.
Right.
It has whatever commands it's executing, but it also has the outputs and the data. So that's also, I'm going to show you. What is it? MBVal. we're going very deep into into Jupyter.
Okay.
So MBVal is it allows you actually to test your notebooks.
Okay.
It's a plugin for PyTest, but it's super nifty because basically you have your, once you've run or executed your notebook, it stores the outputs as well. So you can run this test again, and basically it will execute the notebook without overriding the existing results, and then it compares whether you're getting from the new run was what you got from the previous run. So it's pretty much like regression testing, and this is very good, especially if you're doing research. So you need to make sure that, I don't know, after a few months, your whole research still works, that you didn't make any mistakes there, so that folks can reproduce it and build on it. And this is very nifty as well. MBVal.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's
I'm just going through the replay.
So many tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also like I've ended up with 1 million tabs open, because also like a lot of, I guess it's not just the tools, it's like the groups they're in that I didn't know existed, which is super neat.
You can just like find so many interesting projects. There is this commuter. I've not used it. I've just had a look, but it's super interesting.
So it's another place to share notebooks. I guess it's somewhat like Jupyter Hub in that way. or bind.
You can yeah, it's like a library for
Okay.
Jupyter notebooks.
Interesting.
It's super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also the problem is sharing notebooks can be a bit of a pain. Now having
Okay.
tools with like Binder makes it so
Yeah.
much easier. But the experience in Jupyter notebooks in GitHub is public.
Oh, you mean like
It's
the
terrible.
rendering
Yeah.
inside? Yeah. So I guess like the rendering of
terrible.
notebooks in GitHub actually predates Jupyter. I think it was when it was still just like IPython. So it's not the most maintained functionality.
No,
Yeah.
and
they're not
there's
interactive,
also
right? It just like it does the cells, but you can't interact with them, which is like
Yeah.
part of the whole point.
Yeah, and if you work with other people, I don't know, you use Jupyter notebooks regularly, there is no way you can do code review on GitHub. Like,
Right.
that is probably one of my biggest gripes.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate that because
Right.
you will sometimes go to, I don't know, do a diff or see the diff of a notebook, and you have like this massive jumble of words and numbers that in reality is a plot. And you just get them. What is it? It's 64. Yeah, just like the encoded.
Right. Oh, I see. So it just tell you that, like, hey, we can't do this. This is just, oh my god, that's a nightmare.
So it's an absolute nightmare.
So what do you use to do, like, what tooling do you use to do code review on a notebook? I guess you just clone it locally and review it in the context of the notebook. Or is there like an actual like notebook optimized diff tool?
There is.
Oh, that's awesome.
I use NVDime.
Okay.
But you still have to clone the repo. You still have to clone the repo and then do the diffing directly.
It actually gives you
but it is so much better. It is so much better. You can use it as CLI, and this is like much more easily digestible. Or you can see the render version. So it's like a HTML. And it actually tells you, well, you modify this, enter a code, and this is like...
And it gives you diffs of the output, which is incredible.
Exactly. So it tells you, well, you change this, and this is how your output changed. That is the difference in the image. So it's super good. I use that all the time now. You can... There is an extension that if you use Jupyter Lab, you have an extension, and basically you can do that, the diffing directly in there. And I think this is one of the nicest tools as well.
Super cool. Nice.
But I wish I could do... Sorry, I wish I could do the code review directly on GitHub or stuff, but yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah,
it's absolutely impossible.
They have to do a lot of UI additions. I mean, I still think they need proper diffing for images would be nice, but yeah, they've got so code review has a long way to go for different computing paradigms, I guess, which is fair to call notebooks. Super cool. This is like... Sometimes this is a really stupid impulse I'm now having, where you show me so many cool tools. Although I myself have no use for Jupyter notebooks, I'm like, I want to start doing Jupyter so I can use these tools, which is the wrong way around.
No, but like, actually, if you can basically use notebooks for anything. I have a friend in Mexico, and she does a lot of IoT stuff. And she uses Jupyter notebooks a lot for that.
Interesting. Huh.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Sudipt in chat said Kaggle notebooks render better than how GitHub renders notebooks. That's good to use. Good to know, rather. We can use these tools, Joe, now that we know more about them. Very true. Very true. In the future, when I'm not doing free streams today, I'll learn some Jupyter.
Yeah, I don't know how you handle all of these streams.
I get to hang out with cool people all day. It's the best thing in the world. So I completely took you off track and got very distracted from Paper Mill. Was there anything else on Paper Mill you wanted to show us before we dive on? Do they also have issues open?
They should have. I lost Paper Mill. Where did it go?
We might have changed tab.
This is what happens. I just have 50 million tabs. Oh, there it is. Let's have a look at the issues. They have new contributor friendly.
Cool. It's a slightly different label, and they've got a lot of those.
Yeah, they have quite
good.
a lot of them.
Yeah.
I don't see any Hacktoberfest tags.
Yeah, and they don't have it at the repo level. So this might be one where if you do want to contribute for Hacktoberfest, you might have to ask very, very nicely and politely in the issue or pull request them to add the label for you.
Yeah.
Which usually is fine. Do they have... What is Interact? They have a... Oh, it's a company. Okay, cool. They've got a Slack. You could probably jump into the Slack and ask them if they would be
I suppose that
to,
if you do, if you make a good pull request and like people must be quite flexible.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say. Because also the Vipermill folks are, the Interact folks are really, really nice. Cool. They're all super cool people.
Very nice. Oh, pandas. Okay, this one I have heard of. I'm familiar with pandas.
Pandas. It's so good. Yeah, I use pandas. It's again one of the tools that libraries that I use pretty much
every day. So for folks who haven't
day.
encountered it, what does pandas do and why do you use it every day?
Well, pandas basically allows you to work with data structures in a very, very expressive manner. So basically use data frames and it allows you
I'm going to have to ask what a data frame is now.
What is the easiest way to describe what a data frame is? So basically you have row columns data.
Cool.
It can be anything like numerical or categorical data, strings, whatever it is. And pandas allows you to manipulate these structures. So sometimes you need to deduplicate to deduplicate data, or if you have NAs, you sometimes remove it. It allows you also to merge different data frames. Let's say that you have two different set of data. Very similar to what you would do in SQL or SQL joins.
Interesting.
You can do that kind of joining as well. You can do a lot of you can merge, you can split data sets, you can do a lot of data manipulation. It's really, really good. And you can use it with a very, very wide range of data formats. So if you're, I don't know, if you have data in Excel spreadsheets or comma separated or tab separated, flat data, you can load it in there. You can use HDF5. That is it. I always forget what is that. It's very, very nifty. I think all of the people that do data science with Python uses pandas. At some point, because we spend so much time cleaning and preparing data.
Right.
It's super good.
It sounds like a data frame. Like a very useful data structure.
Yeah, and it also handles date and times natively.
Which is, especially this week. I don't know. From where you are, you're probably also having this problem where we are the only ones who have changed our clocks this week. And so time is meaningless and every meeting is a disaster because the US hasn't yet changed their time. And so the calendars are just a mess this week. Anything that automatically handles time and dates for me is magic.
It is. So this is nice. It's a very, very active project.
Cool.
They have also a lot of issues.
Oh, that's a lot of issues. Oh, that makes me feel itchy just looking at it. Oh no, there's 4 maintainers. Oh god.
There are loads of issues. And actually, a very good way to get started with pandas is by doing issues triage first.
Needs triage. Awesome.
Yeah, they use. I have forgotten this thing that they use. Code triage.
Oh yeah.
How it's called?
Yeah.
So you can sign up to triage issues for them every so often.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, we saw code triage a couple of weeks ago because Ryan Douglas uses it in open sourced. It's super neat. I don't see many projects allowing contributors, like outside contributors, to do the triaging. That's super cool. That's a really nice idea.
And then there are a lot of good first issues. Pandas is also one of these projects that the easy or the entry level issues get snapped super quickly.
Right, as you would expect, because it's a very like fundamental and well known project.
Yeah,
the Panda,
but there are always a lot of issues to work on. Let's see if they have the link for code triage somewhere here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that as well. There's not. Where's it?
Oh, here it is. It's
cool.
You can also triage issues. I don't know if I'm gonna appear here.
Triage issues, big button there. Nice.
Yeah, so it's here. You can sign up with. You can. Oh, triage docs. I didn't know that was also a thing.
Oh, receive a documented method or class in your favorite GitHub repos in your inbox every day. Oh, that's cool. Except Python's not supported. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, it must be like C or Scala. But again, if you want to get familiar with pandas and the kind of issues that folks submit, and you have some time to do some triaging, it's a good way to approach this project.
I'm absolutely fascinated by this. That's such a cool idea. I'm gonna have to check out how code triage helps with this, because I've never. Usually, like, triaging is one of those very maintainer heavy tasks where like maintainer needs to check every issue and triage it before they can open it properly out to like external contributors. It's really, really nice to see them giving that out as an easy opportunity for first-time contributors. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I think it's a very nifty way to get you started, especially for folks that are like, oh, I want to contribute or I want to help a project, but I don't know. I don't feel like I'm ready to start coding yet, or I'm not.
It takes a long time to understand the code base. There's also like triaging these issues. Like one of the things I saw them say in that guide you were showing us was like, hey, like reproduce the bug reports and that kind of thing, which is like a really good way to learn more about the project and learn more about how the project is built if you're trying to reproduce the bugs, because you're going to see a lot of weird, like, bugs don't often come up on the well-trodden paths on projects, right? They come up on like cases that are less used or like areas that are less used. You're going to see a lot of like edge cases and weird clever ways of using the project, which is super neat. Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So there we go. Panda Stokes. Oh, hey Luke, thanks for joining us. I already said hi in chat, but I need to say it verbally as well. Very cool. Awesome.
So I think that this is like one of the things. I've not seen many projects using code triage.
No, the first time I saw it was like from the other end, where I saw code triage used as like a way to discover new issues to contribute to. I haven't seen this project side of it, which is super interesting.
I think it is a very, very nice approach. I think Pandas is the only project I've seen doing it this way. But it's very, very interesting, and that's why I wanted to show it as well. If there are any other projects that do something similar, I would like to do it to find them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I definitely haven't seen that before, but there must be more out there, because it's a function, it's a thing within code triage. It's weird. There doesn't seem to be. There's no like directory of projects which are using it in code. Oh wait, it's on the front page.
There it is.
Well, yeah. I was clicking around every link in the nav except the front page.
Except that. There MATLAB.
Oh, that's obviously.
Oh, there's one.
Nice.
Let's see what
MATLAB itself isn't open source, right? Like that's the whole thing.
No.
Yeah.
No. It is proprietary. Let's see what is.
God, there are so many things on that list I've never even heard of. Raku and Rascal.
Oh, so Senpai has that as well. Keras. Scikit-learn, Sci-Fi.
It seems particularly popular within scientific computing land.
Yeah. There is NumPy is so good.
What are the differences? What's the difference between red and yellow projects in here?
I have no idea.
Is it just number of issues, maybe? Yes, I think it's number of issues. So I think it's like, hey, this project has 1 million issues. It's in code red. Come help it. Whereas the ones in lower issues, lower numbers of issues. It looks like it goes to yellow around 700 or 800. Yeah, under 800 is yellow. Okay, that makes sense.
There's AstroPi. Oh, there's Airflow as well.
Airflow's very cool. Interesting. Huh. There's a lot more projects on there than I thought there would be. But like, do these? Is this? Yeah, these are all signed up for triaging issues. I'm gonna click on that triage issue button and see what happens.
Let's go to Keras, for example.
Yeah.
Let's see if they have something similar to Pandas where it says help us triaging.
Yeah.
No.
As in contributing?
Oh, there it is.
Use Octave. What's Octave suited?
Pull request. No.
So they're using it and asking people to triage. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, don't mention code triage in there at all.
So there seems to be projects that use it, but they don't mention that they use it.
Yeah. I guess it's fine. Like they might be using it as another way to discover issues, because it looks like if you sign up, if you press that triage issues button on a project on code triage, they basically say they're going to email you issues every day from that project to have a look at. So I guess for a lot of projects, they're just using it as a way to help people discover issues on their project.
I do get some issues for Pandas in my inbox every so often.
Cool. Nice. Awesome. Very cool. Neat. Well, that's a journey of discovery. I'm gonna have to go dive into code triage after this. Oh, doggo. We
have a new guest here.
Who's desperately trying to get up. Oh, wants to play. Sorry, dog, for stealing your owner.
Everybody knows my dog. She always makes an appearance.
Perfect.
It's like she knows.
The dogs of Twitch. Was there any other projects you wanted to show us? Or should we free you to hang out with your dog?
I think we've actually done a lot of projects. We went down a lot of rabbit holes and looked at new projects. Yeah. We went down this spiral of like, oh, this is a cool project, and it is kind of related to this.
Right.
Well.
Perfect. Well, yeah, that's been super useful. So for the folks who Luke says came for the code, stayed for the Doge. Perfect. So for folks who are still looking for Hacktoberfest projects with those 5 days remaining and want to do it in data science or scientific computing land, we've seen a whole bunch that have issues open. We've seen a new way to discover loads of projects. We've looked at loads of orgs which themselves have 1 million repos. And we've spoken a little bit about, the core issue why contributing to these projects is important with the reproducibility crisis and the different orgs that are working on that. So I think this has been super great. Thank you so much. If folks have questions for you or they want to chat to you about any of the things you're working on, is there a good way for them to do that? Is there a place they should go? Yeah,
so you can find me on Twitter as Ishek, or if you need to reach out for anything, I have my website as well, which is allard.dev, and there you can find all of the ways that you can get in touch with me.
Awesome. Sorry, what was that website URL? I was trying to
allard.dev.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's a portmanteau. In private chat. Perfect. Thank you. Throw that in the banner. There we go. That's on the screen now for folks. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for showing us all those wonderful projects. I will do the backstage shuffle and free you to play with your pup now. But again, thank you so much, Tania, for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. It's been very enjoyable. It's lovely.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye. You too.
Awesome. Thank you again, Tania. That was awesome. So as I already done the only 14 more streams to go this week, folks, and I've already lost the ability to speak. So we've got to see so many amazing projects. Those are all in the chat. When we get this recording up, I will make sure I get all those links into the chat for you as well, into the description for you as well. But as Tania said, you can find her website at allard.dev, where if you have any questions or you want to find out more about what Tania does, you can find that all there. So stay where you are. Do not go anywhere. That is the end of our guest segment, but I have information for you. Do not depart. So first up, we have 2 more shows today. This is the first of 3 shows, and we have 14 more shows this week. And you can find all of those shows for the end of Hacktoberfest at twitch.tv, RaiseDev's schedule. Our next guest, oh my God, it's like happening in a matter of hours, and I can't even remember. Our next guest is Ian Jennings. Ian Jennings works a lot on developer experience. So if you care about making sure that like your APIs or your docs or your project is really easy for developers to use, this can be a great show. We're going to be talking to Ian about developer experience, about his work on developer experience, and looking at some of the things that he does to help companies make products with great developer experience, make amazing APIs. What a good API, what good docs, what a good developer portal, what all of that means. That's coming up with Ian in about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And then next up, our last show tonight, we have Michelle Mannering from GitHub. That will be 8 a.m. her time tomorrow because Michelle is in Australia. Michelle's the developer advocate for GitHub in Australia. And we're going to be talking about her career journey because it is wild and super cool. And what she's up to over at GitHub tonight at, well, for me tonight, 10 p.m. European time, 9 p.m. UTC, or 8 a.m. if you're tuning in from Australia. Tomorrow, I'll do a brief run through for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, we've got Prince Wilson, the Dev2 Takeover, and Martin from Enzo. Wednesday, we have Matt Cowley himself, Ramon, and we have Angel Rivera from Circle CI. Thursday, we've Gianluca Arbenzo from Equinix Metal. We have Nathaniel Okamwa from Twilio, and we have Sam Lanning from the UN. Friday, we have Nicholas Carrigan, regular viewer in our show. It's too early for him right now, though, so he's not here. Eddie, an open source advocate, and our last show of the week is our very own Chris Ewald. You can find information about all of those on our schedule page at twitch.tv schedule. If you want notifications when we go live, you can follow us here on Twitch. You can hit the love heart and hit the bell. That will tell you when we're going live, and you can follow us on Twitter at RaiseDev. Let me find the right banner. There it is. RaiseDevs, where we tweet an hour before every show, tell you who the guest is coming on and what we're going to be doing with them. And that will keep you up to date with all of the news when we go live. So that's all from me right now. Thank you for hanging out. Just a reminder that if you still not subscribed to Raise.dev, we are a service to help you level up your developer career. We have expert coaches who will help you get all the experience that you need to get to that first developer job, to get that promotion, to get that raise. Raise.dev, see what we're doing there, to get all that great stuff. And you can sign up completely for free now whilst we're in early access at Raise.dev. So thank you all very much for hanging out. Thank you again to Tania for showing us all those amazing projects. I will see you in about 2 hours and 20 minutes if you join us at the next stream. Otherwise, I hope we will see you in this, our final week. We've got 4 more days of shows left. So I hope we get to make the most of it together. Other than that, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you very shortly.